Well, welcome to week 3 of our life group study for our growth campaign called Be a Disciple. In this study, we're looking at the 4 chairs of discipleship, and we're asking these questions. What chair are you in of the 4 chairs, and which chair do you need to move towards? So remember that as we go through this, we're evaluating where we're at spiritually. In our life group lessons, we're looking at the Beatitudes. These are attitudes that we need to grow spiritually. This week, the third attitude we're looking at is an attitude that says you need to submit to God. Matthew 5:5 is our verse, which says, God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. We're going to be studying the Beatitudes, as I said in this life group session. The word beatitude is the word from Latin for blessing. These are blessings that Jesus is teaching about in the kind of people that are going to receive blessings from God. These attitudes, these mindsets are the ones that we need to have in order to receive God's blessings, and part of that equals into our growth. In this study, we're evaluating and asking, do we have the attitudes that are necessary to grow as a follower of Jesus? Jesus is calling you to grow in your walk with Him. Well, this third attitude that we're looking at is an attitude of spiritual submission. Spiritual submission. Are we in a position of submitting to the authority of God? There's a story told of a captain of a ship who looked out through a dark night and saw the faint lights in the distance. Immediately, he told a signalman to send a message to those lights, alter your course 10 degrees south. Well, promptly, a return message was received. Alter your course 10 degrees north. The captain was angered by the response. His command had been ignored. So he sent a second message. Alter your course 10 degrees south. I'm a captain. Soon, another message was received back. Alter your course 10 degrees north. I'm a seaman, third class Jones. Immediately, the captain sent a third message, knowing the fear it would evoke. Alter your course 10 degrees south. I am a battleship. Then the reply came back. Alter your course 10 degrees north. I am a lighthouse. Kind of a funny story about coming up against someone else that has more power than we do, more authority. This third attitude we're looking at today asks the question, are we in a position to be blessed by God in that do we have an attitude that is submissive to God's will, to His authority? Are we walking in humility? The truth is you need to submit to God's authority in your life. If you don't humbly submit to God's authority, then you won't be moving in step with Him in your life. You're going to miss opportunities and blessings in your life because obedience brings blessing from God. And that's the truth. Our verse today is Matthew 5:5, which says this, God blesses those who are humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. Humility leads us to submit to God's will, to submit to His authority. When did you first realize that God was the greater force than you are? When did you first submit to God's direction for your life? And when was the last time that you changed something in your life to become obedient to God? The Bible makes it clear that we must come under God's authority in our life in order to live for Him and in order to grow in Him. God is the source of all power. He has all authority and power over all things. This passage in Job describes to us the power and the nature of the power that God has. Job chapter 26, verses 7 through 14 says this, God stretches the northern sky over empty space and hangs the earth on nothing. He wraps the rain in His thick clouds, and the clouds don't burst with the weight. He covers the face of the moon, shrouding it with His clouds. He created the horizon when He separated the waters. He set the boundary between day and night. The foundations of heaven tremble. They shudder at His rebuke. By His power, the sea grew calm. By His skill, He crushed the great sea monster. His spirit made the heavens beautiful, and His power pierced the gliding serpent. These are just the beginning of all that He does. Merely a whisper of His power. Who then can comprehend the thunder of his power? We're told to wage war against evil in our world. We submit our lives to God and to his authority and fight against anything in our lives or outside of our lives that's not obedient to Jesus. 1 Corinthians 10, 3-6 says this, "We are human, but we don't wage war as humans do. We use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. We destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. And after you have become fully obedient, we will punish everyone who remains disobedient." The scripture's telling us that God is all-powerful. God is the one who created the world and the universe, and he controls it. And we're taught to submit to God's authority, meaning that we stand against evil in our lives and in the world around us. We have got to submit every area of our lives to Jesus. That's how we grow. If you don't take the authority of Jesus seriously, then you will not act in obedience to him. This will keep you from experiencing the blessings of God in your life. It will lead you to struggle, to a lack of power as you seek to be involved in God's work. You're going to lose those battles against sin if you don't understand that God is he's an authority and he commands you to make those changes in your life. Maintaining a spirit of humility in our lives keeps us in a posture of submitting to God's commands and his will. How do you maintain a spirit of humility before God? This week, if you're physically able, I'm going to encourage you to practice getting on your knees as you talk to God each day. Getting on your knees is a physical way in which we humble ourselves before God. Throughout Scripture, when people are faced with the presence of God, when they come into his presence, they get on their knees. They're brought to a lower place. Getting ourselves lower reflects a heart of submission and humility. This week, I want to call you as you go through your lesson and study to ensure to ask yourself, ponder in your heart, look deep within your soul. Do you have a spirit of humility before Jesus? Are you walking in submission to him? Folks, this is the kind of church we need to be, the kind of people we need to be, where we're easily directed by the Spirit of God because we're walking in humility and we're walking in submission to his will. God bless you as you go through your study, and we'll see you next week.